Hi everyone, I'm Brandon and welcome back to News4Teens. Today I'm going to dig deeper into an important event that came to a close this past week, the Georgia Senate runoffs. I'll be referencing this Economist article as well as several other sources listed below in my video description. I'll discuss why there's a runoff, the candidates in the runoff, the potential reasons for the outcome, and why the results are so important. Many people will remember January 6, 2021 as the day when Trump supporters stormed the US Capitol Hill while Congress was certifying the electoral votes. However, another notable event occurred that day. Two Democratic candidates appear to have locked in wins in the Georgia US Senate runoffs held on January 5th. By the end of the week, as additional votes increased their leads, both of their Republican opponents conceded their races. Before I go into the details of the race, let me briefly explain why Georgia has runoff elections. Georgia's election system is unique for state and congressional offices by potentially requiring two election rounds. The first round is the general election. If no candidate wins the majority of the votes in the general election, the top two candidates move to a second runoff round where they face head-to-head. Under Georgia law, a runoff is possible in any non-presidential election that has more than two candidates. In 2020, Georgia had two Senate races, one regular and the other a special election to fill the remainder of a retired senator's seat. The runoff for the regular election was between incumbent Republican Senator David Perdue and Democrat Jon Ossoff. A Libertarian candidate also ran against them in the first round but came in third. Perdue won more votes in the first round but won just under 50% of the total votes. Ossoff came in second, so the two proceeded to the runoffs. The runoff for the special election was between incumbent Republican Senator Kelly Loeffler and Democrat Reverend Raphael Warnock. There were 21 candidates in their first round, so it was not surprising that there would be a runoff for that election. Here's a visual of the runoff results as of Saturday, January 9th, showing the Democrat candidates winning the majority of votes in each of their close races. With the wins, Senator-elect Warnock is the first African-American Democrat ever elected to the Senate from the South, and Senator-elect Ossoff, who is 33 and Jewish, will be the youngest member in the Senate. During my research, I also learned that Reverend Warnock is a pastor at the same church Martin Luther King Jr. once pastored in Atlanta. I also learned that Ossoff is an investigative reporter who was inspired and mentored by the late John Lewis. There were multiple factors that led to the victories in these very costly races. A noteworthy fact about the runoffs was that more than $800 million was spent between both parties for the two races, with over $500 million in advertising alone. A likely reason why Democrats were able to win the state is due to strong grassroots voter registration campaigns. Many credit Stacey Abrams, who founded the New Georgia Project and launched Fair Fight, both of which targeted young and minority voters. For the Georgia Senate runoffs, Nsé Ufot, the CEO of the New Georgia Project, said the groups knocked on 2 million doors, dispatched 3 million text messages, and dialed phones 5 million times. Ms. Ufot noted that there were 120,000 early voters who had skipped the presidential election in November but voted in January for the runoffs. According to a 538 article, there was record turnout not only for Democrats but also for Republicans. While high, the Republican turnout was not enough for Loeffler and Perdue to hold their seats. The article states that some Republican voters may have been harder to motivate than they were in November because Trump himself wasn't on the ballot. Additionally, Trump's approval rating has decreased since November, which may have hurt the GOP senators running for re-election. Even if the impact of these factors was small, with such close races, any one factor could have tipped the races for one of the candidates or parties. With wins for Warnock and Ossoff, the Democrats and Republicans will split the Senate, each with 50 senators. However, the Democrats will control the Senate as Vice President-elect Kamala Harris will act as a tiebreaker. Democrats also hold a majority of the House, although by a smaller majority than before. Since Democrats will now have control of the Senate, conservative Democrats will likely have more influence and power than before. Any one dissenting Democrat could cause the Democrats to lose their majority. Because of this, many predict that Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia will be a pivotal Democrat who will often hold the deciding vote. Although not the strong majority they were hoping for, most Democrats would gladly prefer this scenario over the alternative, which is dealing with soon-to-be Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell. With control of the House, Senate, and the White House, President-elect Joe Biden will have a much easier and speedier time getting his nominations confirmed. That advantage may also help push the legislative agenda that he campaigned for, including beating COVID-19, economic recovery, environmental and climate change matters, healthcare, racial economic equity, and more. Mark your calendars for January 20th, the inauguration date of Joe Biden as the 46th President of the United States and Kamala Harris as Vice President. I hope you learned something new from this video and gained a better understanding of why the Georgia U.S. Senate runoffs were so important. More videos on U.S. politics are to come.